against Donald Trump in history on national polls. No one is performing worse than her. No one's performing worse than her among blacks, among Hispanics, the worst performing Democrat in modern history among those demographics, worst performing polling-wise among Jews. She is losing key factions of the Democratic base. Muslim voters, she's at under 50, she's at 52% in the latest CAIR poll among black Muslims. She is not doing well.
Was the economy better under Trump, or is the economy better under Biden and Harris? So hand up if you think the economy was better under Trump, and hands up if you think the economy is better under Biden and Harris. That's pretty clear. The truth. Firstly, I just want to ask a general question about Harris, then we're going to show some clips for the debate. What's your biggest hesitation about voting for Kamala Harris?
Just, is she going to be able to do the things that she says she's going to be able to do?
So why is it that what my man is about to say is in fact the case? Before we talk about Kamala Harris being so weak when it comes to minority voters, especially when it comes to actual polling, before we talk about this, let's just say this little group chat that J&L Partners conducted. J&L Partners, by the way, the polling firm for the Daily Mail out of England, they actually have produced some pretty accurate polls over the years. Also, the Democracy Institute, who, by the way, always finds a way to get lost in the shuffle and never mentioned. Before we talk about this, I want you guys to know this really quick before we get started. There's a video coming out at 12 o'clock where I talk about Janet Jackson stating the obvious that Kamala Harris is Indian, not black. And, of course, there's this little controversy, a little confusion going on. And I did that video last night, and it wasn't until this morning when I woke up that I saw that people are saying she apologized for her comments, and now she's saying, no, I'm not apologizing for the comments. So just know that that right there could be a story that we may pick up on a little bit later on down the week or a little bit later on down the road. Still, though, at the same time, I advise you guys check it out. People got triggered over it. It's absolutely glorious to see. That right there being said, make sure you guys please cut on the notifications for the videos so that way for the channel, so that way you guys know when the videos are coming out. I'm probably going to tell you guys something at the very, very end because I've kind of got an idea or how I'm going to be doing things come next year. I want to go ahead and kind of share it with you guys now, what's on my mind, because I know myself, I'll probably forget about it in a couple of days. But still, make sure you guys stick around for the full bit, and let us go ahead and talk about exactly why it is that Kamala Harris's polling numbers, especially amongst black voters, is so poor. Really quick, if you do watch the video that I've got posted at 12 o'clock, you may remember this little clip here.
To the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
Are they better off now than they were 4 years ago?
Making life more affordable for people. What are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid.
I grew up a middle-class kid.
I grew up a middle class.
I was raised middle class. That's going to be her shtick throughout the rest of the campaign. And obviously this right here is not a good shtick because nobody can connect with it, especially if you are a person that is not white. As a matter of fact, a lot of whites don't connect with that because there are still a lot of poor whites. We don't really talk about them that much. Of course, I know this because I'm one of those poor whites. But still, at the same time, though, we need to focus on anybody who's not white because obviously everything is centered around race, and that is the current Democratic Party as a whole. Look, here's the thing. Nobody connects with Kamala Harris when she says stuff like that. Nobody connects with her at all. And the biggest reason why nobody connects with her is because a lot of people out there in the world don't have the same shared experience. We talked about this in the previous video about how it was that she was actually raised in Canada. And of course, she does come from a slightly wealthier background instead of the poor one. She's been trying to brand herself as a poor black ever since 2019. You know, the moment where she decided to basically call Joe Biden a racist over busing, even though that was obviously a whopper because she wasn't even living in the United States at the time. She was living in Canada. I don't think I need to bring that back up, but I'll link it in the description box as well as that full interview once again. The point is this right here. Nobody connects with Kamala Harris. However, she's got another problem, which, by the way, was exposed during this little, let's just say, group talk, this little focus group. Let's go ahead and get to that.
That's my big hesitation. Is she going to be able to get it past Congress? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Yep. You know.
Mikhail, how about you?
Everything that glitters ain't gold.
Yeah, for sure.
It looks great on paper. But I'm not sure it could translate to politics. And if she'll even be able to get it past.
Haywood?
My thing is her strength. That's my focus for her. You know, is she going to be able to take a punch and give one or two back? You know, that's my biggest thing. And it has nothing to do with her gender, ladies, okay? But we talking about the highest office in the land.
Yeah. If it was Michelle Obama, I would feel totally different.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Or
You can't be weak. You can't be weak and hold that.
Okay, now, right before I cut to that, I was talking about weak, as in weakness, as in people view her as weak. Well, I think the biggest reason why people view her as weak at this moment in time is because the media has gone out of their way to cover up for her. By the way, CNN appears to have actually turned on her. I'm going to link this video right here from Vince down in the description box for you guys, so that way you guys can kind of sort of see for yourselves. I think the reason why they're doing this is not because they're trying to help Kamala Harris out. I think that they're doing this because they're trying to go ahead and set a narrative before the election is over with, so that way people can kind of sort of accept the fact that, yeah, even Kamala Harris's team, of course, this where it got leaked to the New York Times, they don't trust the polling data showing her up out of the state of Wisconsin, which tells me that the internal polling data that they have is probably terrible. Still, though, at the same time, you should go out there and vote. You see, the thing is this right here. People perceive Kamala Harris to be weak because, let's just go ahead and be honest, she's been pampered by the media. She's been covered up. Now, Hillary Clinton was pampered by the media, but at least when the media did an interview or they wanted to interview her, she would give the interview. Most times before 2016, and then she decided to play the game of just stay behind the closed, just stay behind the door. They'll do most of the work for me. Michelle Obama, I don't even know why in the world we even brought Michelle Obama up. Clearly one of the worst first ladies we ever had. And, of course, I think anytime somebody brings her up, you should also bring up the school lunch issue that so many Gen Z kids had to deal with, those horrible ones. One of the main reasons why it is I don't think she would win the election if she was the nominee on the Democratic ticket, because she wouldn't be able to get the Gen Z vote because they had to suffer due to her god-awful food or god-awful lunches that she put in for that people forced kids to eat that, of course, they obviously did not like. But still, though, at the same time, though, why is this rather the case? Why is that she's perceived to be so weak? Well, it's obviously because she's been pampered. Look, you got to be able to stand on 2 feet. You got to be able to do that on the debate stage. And even if it's Trump, you've got to at least be able to outsmart him. During the debate, she didn't really get many zingers, and people saw her facial expressions, and she did not exactly get what it is that she needed to get done. Hence the reason why it is that she is screaming and hollering for a second debate, because she knows she did not get what she needed to get done during the first debate. However, this focus group does, in fact, get a little bit deeper. As you guys can obviously see, these people are not exactly turned on the idea of supporting her.
Put her next to Michelle Obama, it's like...
Or Hillary Clinton.
Or Hillary Clinton, it's like it's no comparison on the strength that I think Michelle Obama or Hillary Clinton would have against her. They would eat her up.
How did Harris come across then? How did she do up against him? Hayward says that, big personality. How did she do? How did she come across?
She kept saying that she's a warrior, she's going to fight, but I don't know if you're as strong as... I mean, I get it, what you feel, but I don't think you are as, like, a warrior, like, fighter, like she says she is.
Right.
That's just my opinion. Not that I don't think she doesn't care, and like I said, she used a lot of appealing to emotion, like anecdotal, like anecdotal evidence instead of she used some facts, but just to appeal to people, like, hey, I'm just to try to get people on her side.
I don't think the bar was set pretty high when it comes to that. When it comes to her speaking, I believe the last debate with Biden set it really low. So I believe she did a lot better than Biden.
So when you factor in the weakness, when you factor in the fact that not only is it the weakness, the fact that people don't really know much about her, and here's the thing. If this right here was a campaign that was like over a year long, like a full actual presidential campaign, she'd have been cooked long before going into the actual election season itself. She'd have been cooked in the primaries a lot like she was in 2019. The fact of the matter is that nobody wants to support her, and they had their reasons, obviously, for not wanting to support her, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. Also, the fact that the lived experience does not exactly match that of most minorities in the United States, with which, by the way, they're going to tell you that people are oppressed, a lot like what Wes Moore was trying to say there, but let's us not forget about all the black millionaires that the United States has produced. Fact of the matter is that Kamala Harris is a weak candidate, and she looks out of touch even with her own base, especially those people of color. So, no, I'm not surprised that Kamala Harris's internal numbers are bad. I'm not surprised this is actually going on. I'll talk about setting the bar low here in a second, but let me go ahead and let this other part run, then we'll come right back to it and kind of break everything down at once.
That's pretty much what I got from them.
They're both old. Biden is old. Trump is old. We need to get some young folks in there that knows, have an idea of what's going on now. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, it was several times where he kept referring to her as they. He almost didn't even address her. He kept saying Biden. He didn't say her name at all.
Yeah, or that's your boss. Basically, that's your boss. You're just doing what Biden wants to do.
Yeah, and it does make you wonder, right? Because it's kind of he's saying stuff like y'all just ousted him, and I'm like, well, that's not what happened. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, what if that is what happened? And now she's the figurehead, so. It's difficult to jump on board 100% because you do kind of you've seen it. We've lived through now, multiple elections and we've seen how they turned out. So as a person, I do think she's a better person.
Believe it or not, the coup on Joe Biden is obviously circulating in these people's minds. Now, it used to be that it would not circulate in these people's minds, and what would happen is that they would just go blindly vote Democrat. Which, of course, the vast majority of people will, on that side of the aisle, will still go vote Democrat. But still, at the same time, though, there are people out there who are obviously concerned about voting for her and do not want to vote for her because of the coup. They think that this entire thing is a great big giant sham. They think that this person was obviously couped in out of office because Joe Biden could not win because what happened on the debate stage. And, of course, if you're thinking the exact same thing that I just said, then chances are you're probably correct. However, I do, in fact, believe the coup was designed for somebody else. But the word that we're getting is that Kamala Harris is very, very good at wheeling and dealing, and she was very, very good at keeping Obama's influence out, which I find very, very odd because Obama has not really been on the campaign stage with her. She's not exactly been on the, he hasn't been in the arenas. He hasn't actually done that. Somebody might say he might take away from her thunder. And my response to that is, what are you talking about? The Democratic Party is not really and truly a candidate anymore. It's kind of sort of a machine that he runs or he's had the most amount of influence over, which makes me think that come push, come shove, she's probably going to get abandoned. And I think that that's already happening if you look at how CNN has been reporting things. But still, though, these voters are obviously not too keen on supporting her. They think she's weak. They also, if you listen to that woman say, look, something about this obviously feels odd in the sense that he keeps on referring to her as they. He doesn't even refer to her by her name. That rather denotes some form of weakness. That also denotes the fact that she's not special, which is something I've been saying for a long time. That no matter how many times you try to fake the poll numbers, at the end of the day, people do in fact know that she's not special. Look, I've been saying this for a while. Kamala Harris's approval rating, or Kamala Harris's favorability rating, was 28% back in late June of this year. 28%. The same exact approval rating that Dick Cheney had when George W. Bush left the Oval Office. And remember, and I say this all the time, Cheney shot a guy in the face. Within 2 days of Kamala Harris suddenly becoming the presumptive Democratic Party nominee, her favorability was up to 44%. Then it went up to 53%. Now it's back down to 44%. I think the real number is probably somewhere between 30 and 40, and you're going to see that in the polls and the overall results. But like I said before, most Democrat Party voters will still go out there and go vote for her blindly anyways. And even, of course, some never-Trumpers. But still, though, the left-leaning independents is what you need, those who are not registered Democrat, to help you get over. And obviously, this is where Kamala Harris is suffering at. So what do you do next? What do you do next if you're the mainstream media? Well, you trot out certain people. You trot out certain faces, especially certain faces of a certain color. And you do the same tired old shtick you always do, hence Wes Moore out of Maryland.
Released a poll on Friday that showed while Black Americans overwhelmingly identify as Democrats, over 1/4 of Black men under 50 said they would support the Republican candidate in this year's election. Why do you think that younger male Black voters are changing their association like this?
I think there's especially for younger Black men, there is a frustration. But it's not necessarily frustration with Vice President Harris, and it's not even frustration with the Democratic Party. Frankly, it's a frustration of the pace of progress in America. I think about my state. In my state, when I was inaugurated, we had an 8-to-1 racial wealth gap in the state of Maryland. And that's not because one group was working 8 times harder. That's because of historical policies and circumstances. When I'm the third African-American ever elected governor in the history of the United States. That's not because I'm only the third African-American ever qualified to be a governor. And so I think the thing that we continue to see, and frankly, I think that debate was actually a perfect illustration where for many of us, we grew up being told by our family members, you've got to work 10 times as hard in order to get ahead, in order to get an opportunity. We saw Donald Trump walk on that debate stage uniquely and historically unprepared.
I forget about all the black millionaires that this country has produced. Wes Moore tries to come off as one of the good Democrats, but in reality, he is just as bad, if not worse, than a lot of the other ones. I don't want to sit here and make fun of the guy because of how he may appear or whatnot. I'm not going to do that. That's not who I am. But anytime you hear this guy talk, he always tries to, let's just say he loves to try to toe the SJW shtick, or at least it looks like he loves to do it, but it just comes off flat in his case. So, yeah, I figure I'd bring this back up because, once again, here we are bitching and complaining about generations of no wealth or whatever when you should actually be working hard towards it, which a lot of black people do. But of course, to go on top of that, if you keep telling them that they've got to work twice as hard as anybody else, after a while, people will in fact get blackpilled. You maybe think to yourself that maybe your rhetoric is actually doing more to harm than it is to help a community. Just saying. It's truth mixed with lies. You see, the thing is this right here. You can continue to go on and on and on and on and on about generational screw-ups. You can continue to go on and on and on about slavery, but the problem is this right here. A lot of people, especially black people, are starting to realize this, the here and now. This right here is where we live at. We need to stop harping about the past, and we need to see exactly what it is that we're going to get for our vote. Now, I personally think that approach is the wrong approach because it denotes that one side is a little bit more selfish than the other, but still at the same time, I understand why it is these voters may feel this way, and my feeling is that as long as these people are eating each other, let them do it. Eventually, at some point in time, it will get to the point where the Democratic Party as a whole will no longer exist, which, by the way, is not really truly my goal. I don't want one-party rule, even if it's Republican rule. I would never want that, but still at the same time, though, let them eat each other. Obviously, they're going to have to do some reform somewhere in the future. But as you guys can obviously see, Kamala Harris is obviously suffering when it comes to non-white voters. It's exactly what Ryan James Gradisky had said at the very beginning. And by the way, something else too, you see, he also talked about Muslim voters, which, by the way, I did not mention in this video. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mention them now to kind of sort of end the video. This guy right here, Democrat mayor, out of one of the heaviest Muslim communities in the state of Michigan, just endorsed Donald Trump. Now, why in the world do you think that right there might be the case? Well, the reason why he would endorse Donald Trump is because, obviously, the situation between Israel and the Palestinians, the stuff that's going on in the Gaza Strip, Israel, Hamas, obviously, this type of stuff right here is not playing well with Muslim voters who view the current administration that Kamala Harris is a part of, by the way, as responsible for the situation going on over there. Never mind the fact that Hamas struck Israel first, but still at the same time, I'm pretty sure you guys can see. Kamala Harris polls very, very poorly when it comes to minority voters, voters that, quite frankly, she needs to have even have a chance at winning. She polls very low for a multitude of reasons. This is obviously one of the main reasons is because of what's going on with Israel and Hamas. Also, to go on top of that, go back to what I said before, she doesn't have the actual lived black American experience, nor does she have the experience to be poor at any point in time. As you guys can obviously see, nobody can relate to her or connect with her, but also something else too. When she's referred to as they or them or whatever, that right there automatically denotes the fact that, yeah, she's very weak. By the way, Trump released an ad that was playing yesterday during the Saints-Eagles game that I was forced to watch during the day because obviously they didn't want to play the Packers. And, of course, we all saw what the hell happened with the Cowboys. They were down 28-6, only then turned right back around and see their comeback and stuff, which was kind of hilarious in a way. But then again, I kind of wanted to see them pull it off so that way we could get the entertainment that we get online from those crazy Cowboy fans. Not trying to insult you, they just have a bit of fun. But still, though, this ad right here was playing, and I gotta say, this is actually a very, very beautiful campaign ad.
Supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Yeah, they, them. They, them as in not just the Trent, but they, them as in the establishment, meaning the machine. Not really her. So, yes, she's not special. Now, guys, before I close this video out, I do want to say this really quick. I've been considering what I was going to do come next year. What I may do is change the name. Well, not really change the name of the channel. What I was considering I was going to do is leave Claymore or John Claymore. But I was probably just going to go with Claymore. And then what I was probably going to do is kind of like what Count Dankula does. And I was probably going to come up with apathetic societies is what I'm thinking about to go along with it, or apathetic societies with Claymore. And then, of course, the second channel would be like Claymore 2 or Claymore History. The reason why is because the second channel I plan on opening up is a history channel. And what I might do is just change Gear Issue 33 altogether. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to do that yet, but I pretty much got an idea of how we're going to split the channels up come next year. We're probably going to have 3 total next year, counting that one, because I am going to go back to military movie reviews. With that right there being said, guys, make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, please comment. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say, and I'll see you guys later.